Okay, so let's go ahead and get started this morning. I'm happy to have any of you who are able to join us. This is the first of what's going to be a 14-week series designed to help you dive into the things that maybe you've been putting off on your to-do list, the biggest one being kvCore. A lot of the context of this training is going to be on the premise that I know a lot of people that are joining us are with EXP. And so you have this platform because of your association with the brokerage. But you can certainly, if you are not affiliated with EXP and you've come to us through Leader's Edge and are trying to learn kvCore and want maybe a little bit of hand holding, a little bit of a slow pace, this is a good place for you too. What we're designed to do is break it up into pieces. So number one, it's not so intimidating. And number two, you're a little bit more motivated to get it done, to get a handle on it, and to start getting this tool working in your business. So what are you going to gain from, the next several weeks? Well, first understand that every week I'm going to be recording the sessions. So if you can't participate live, know that we will have the recording available to you that you can either go back and rewatch or catch up if you miss a week. I'm also in a minute going to go over the schedule, so you're going to know what the topic will be and what the focus will be each week. So if today isn't relevant to you, or maybe you're already set with your database and don't need to tune in during that session, it's going to make good use of your time. We're going to move at a relatively slow pace. Okay, so you're not getting everything you need to know about kvCore in one 60-minute session. That's overwhelming and, quite frankly, I think a little bit discouraging to people who are really trying to understand just all the functionality that exists in this tool. It's also important that if you haven't up until now is the moment that you want to sort of jump in and say, I'm committed to this platform. The market that we are in now is going to require a different type of effort than what we've seen in the last 2 years moving through the pandemic. So you want to understand who your sphere is, who your past clients are, who your potential clients are. And then anytime you have a new relationship that you've started, you want to document all that. And then use the muscle of this platform to keep you in contact with those people so that, top of mind, you're the first person that somebody's going to call when they have a real estate need. The way that I work these sessions is I try to encourage a little bit of accountability. So if there's something that you learn, hopefully you're going to take away and have something to do, some homework, if you will, to implement what you've learned with your own kvCore session. And we're not talking like crazy amounts of effort. We're talking about reasonable bullet point to-dos for you. And again, this is just for you to get yourself in a right place where if this has continued to drop down and down on your priority list, we're going to kind of try to move it to the top and the forefront. You're getting a tremendous amount of value with kvCore, but it's only valuable if you're actually leveraging the platform. Okay. So this is how we're going to break it apart. Today, I'm going to talk about kvCore activating your account. Again, really in the context of being an EXP agent, how you go about that activation. And then we're going to take a tour of kvCore and work on profile setup, which is a very important first step. From there, we're going to do some work on a website, your public website that EXP gives you. And there's a lot of opportunity to personalize and bring your own sort of flavor to that, standard website. So that'll be a good component. We're going to talk about your database. Then we're going to deviate a little bit from kvCore and make sure in the middle of all of this, if you're getting your house in order and you're, moving those important items up your to-do list, that we don't forget about how important it is to budget and plan for the next business year. Okay. And again, in the middle of what's going on in the market, these activities become that much more important. So we're going to roll that into our schedule over the next several weeks. We're going to talk about Core Present. If you've never seen it, I think you'll be impressed by it. It's a great updated modern way of preparing a CMA for your clients. We'll talk about campaigns, how to build them, how to leverage them. You can use pre-made or pre-templated campaigns that kvCore offers, or you can even dabble in some total customization giving you sort of that empowerment to know how to do that in kvCore. We'll talk about a lot of little nuggets in this program where the automation is going to help you stay in contact with your clients, and where you will also be able to identify feedback within kvCore to know if your clients are engaged in those activities, whether it be a property alert, an email campaign, a text campaign, and so forth. We'll talk about lead generation. We're even going to dabble a little bit in our own custom newsletters, how you can make a newsletter, how you can leverage mobile components of kvCore. And then we're going to round it out for those with EXP, how you can leverage the marketing center in the middle of all of this as you reach out to your clients and try to continue to build, grow, and get continual entry into your pipeline, your client pipeline. Okay. So let's dive in. We're going to introduce you today to kvCore. If you haven't spent the time before, understand that these are all the sort of high-level muscle components that kvCore is going to offer you, okay? You're going to have a customer relationship management tool. So whether you're talking about a client, a buyer, a seller, it could be a tenant, a landlord. It could also be a vendor that you work with, whether it be attorneys, lenders, or any other vendor, home inspectors, appraisers. You can manage all of those relationships right within kvCore. Also included is your public-facing website. So if you are an EXP agent, you are getting an EXP Realty website as part of this. You want to pay attention to that because it's another in totality, when you look at your entire business, it's going to be one of many opportunities for you to draw attention, draw traffic into your business, and then allow kvCore to capture that traffic so that you can start a dialogue of some sort. Okay. kvCore is a campaign builder. kvCore, or any CRM, and I emphasize this a lot when I talk about client relationships with my team, it will not replace the realtor. It will never replace relationship. It is ultimately your responsibility as the professional to nurture what is happening with your clients, with those that you serve. At the same time, you can't be everywhere and do everything. So you can leverage the muscle of this platform to fill in for you with certain amounts of automation and certain amounts of information that can be automatically delivered to your clients to help them feel informed on the market. And again, to keep you at the top of their mind when they have a real estate question or need. So Campaign Builder is going to be a huge component of what kvCore can do. You can do, or you can leverage EXP to help you with lead generation. You can do things on your own, or you can leverage some paid platforms with EXP. And we're going to talk about that as we get a little deeper into the platform, but how you can draw leads into kvCore and into your client database. And so again, it's all about technology and automation, especially for those in our virtual brokerage environment. When I hear virtual, I don't think of, a brokerage with no brick and mortar. When I hear virtual, I think of a brokerage that should be exceptional at technology. So as an agent in that brokerage, we want to be able to demonstrate to our clients that we're not afraid of technology and that we value it and leverage it to help us run our businesses successfully. Okay. So that's where we're going to concentrate. Now I'm going to jump over to actual kvCore itself. And I want to show you how you would go about activating your kvCore account. If you've never done this, when you are onboarded with EXP, you do not automatically get your kvCore account set up. What you'll want to do is go to Enterprise. Okay. And that was expenterprise.com. You're going to want to go ahead and sign into Enterprise using your EXP email. And then once you do that, look over onto the left-hand side. This is the Enterprise dashboard. Look over on the left-hand side and find the section for optional services. If you've already activated or requested activation of kvCore, you're going to see something like what you see on my screen, a notification that kvCore has already been activated along with the date. So you can see mine was activated about 18 months ago. If you haven't done this yet, there will be a sign up button here. So you'll just want to go ahead and follow that sign up button, proceed to answer a couple of questions to get that process rolling. Okay. Notice that it does suggest a 7 to 10 business day turnaround. In most cases, I've seen it done within 3 to 4 business days. I think they were even faster at one point, but then I know we've seen so much growth in the last 12 months. It maybe went a little closer to the 3 to 5, but still better than the 7 to 10 that they're promising here. When you request activation, make sure that you are properly identifying your primary MLS. That's really important, because when Inside Real Estate, which is the business, the entity that owns kvCore, when they create your account, they are going to need to know that MLS information to determine which listing feeds should populate into your kvCore, into your website searching functionality, and so forth. So MLS selection is a really important step. Okay. Once you've gone ahead and requested this, you should just sit back and wait for that notification to come saying that your account has been activated. Once you get to that point, this is where you're going to go from now on to log into kvCore. So you're just going to go to kvCore.com and you'll go to the login screen. And then once you get here, just make sure that you bookmark it to easily access it going forward. kvCore will use your eXp Realty email address, just like Enterprise did, but you will have to set up a new password. Unlike a lot of the places where your passport password allows you to log into multiple places just with that one password, that doesn't work with kvCore. So you can try to mirror the passwords, but it won't automatically always be the same. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I see there's a question there. So as soon as I get us to the dashboard page, I'm going to go ahead and, okay, let's see. Rochelle, did you have a question?
Yeah, going back to that first page where you mentioned we should set up our MLS. If we have multiple MLSs, can we, we would put in our primary MLS. So in other words, I'm in Central Jersey as my primary, but I also belong to Monmouth. Do we let them know that we want Monmouth as well, or does it not matter?
So what there in the past, maybe probably prior to 6 months ago, if you had an individual agent account with kvCore as opposed to like a team account, if you had an individual account, you could only have one MLS for every domain name that you had. So you'd have to get an add-on, it's called, which would be like a paying service from kvCore to add a second domain. And then you can assign your second MLS to that second domain. So you might have rochellefennel.exprealty.com and rochellefennel1.exprealty.com, something along those lines, and each one would have their own MLS. Recently, they've allowed you to either continue to do it that way, especially if you want to be able to market a different site to different geographic areas that you advertise in. You know, maybe you want to direct agents in, let's say you do some things in like the Monmouth Ocean area, and then you do other things in the Somerset Middlesex area for whatever reason. So maybe you wanted to have 2 separate domains to be able to work those two separate geographic areas. But there is now also the possibility of combining. It's called commingling. And at the end, I'm going to show you, and I can drop into the chat. That's one of the things, like add-on features, that I'm going to just briefly touch on at the end. If you wanted to pursue that, I'll give you an avenue for that. It's kind of a little bit more advanced than some of what we'll cover here. Okay. It will at least get you on a path once your profile is set up. So long way around the block on that one. Yes, you can have multiple MLSs feeding into your one account. There are multiple ways to do it. So you might want to talk through with Inside Real Estate support just what those options are.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So I have a question about that too.
Sure.
When we initially set up, somehow it kicked me into, I guess, the Garden State because Montclair is Union. And I contacted on the 3D website, you know, the world, whatever, you go in, take a ticket. I told them that I wanted CJMLS to be my primary because that's my primary board. And when I went on to my website and tried to like search properties in Middlesex, like they were not coming up. It was only coming up, you know, Union County and northern counties. So they said they fixed it, but it's still not fixed. I don't really know like how to get it taken care of.
Okay. Let me
you
go
know,
over that with you. When I'm going to show you, now we're going to sort of just take a tour of the dashboard of kvCore. And I'm going to show you where I think is the best place to go for support when you need assistance from kvCore with some aspect of either your website, your database, or any other component of functionality. I've gone into the world as well, but I think working from here directly with kvCore support is the best way to go. To me, it's the most efficient and usually gets me the best results. I had the same exact situation. So why don't I just go ahead and start there? Here I'm at the dashboard. So we're going to start in the very bottom right corner of the dashboard. You're going to see this little, it looks like a dialog box in a circle. This is going to be your support window. So if you're struggling with something, if in Yvette's case, you know, you see that your MLS is not appropriately feeding and maybe the wrong MLS is being associated with your account, you want to come here, just open up that dialog box. And then if you scroll down, you can start a conversation. You click here to send a message. I will tell you that it will first try to help you with an article, you know, see if it can direct you to get a quick answer to your question. But then it always does allow you to go ahead and proceed to get staff member support, which is typically, if I'm coming here, it's because I want a human being to help me. What I like about this, there's a couple things with this support. Number one, you are dealing directly with kvCore people. Sometimes I think when you go into the world, you're first dealing with it with EXP personnel. And I think going directly to kvCore when you have a platform specific question, this is kind of gets the fastest result. Another thing I like about this support is you usually know how quickly they're responding. So right now, if I were to submit a request, they're pretty current, you know, getting a response in less than 10 minutes. And the other thing I like about it is that I can start the conversation here with my support need, and I don't have to stay here and wait for a response. The support ticket will automatically pick up as an email thread. So I can submit my request, walk away from it, and follow for updates right from my email, continue to ask questions back and forth and make sure that my issue gets resolved while not having to babysit the support chat. Okay, so those are all the things. So what I would say for you, Yvette, and the way that anybody can test this. So let's just continue our tour. I'll show you in a minute. That was the bottom right-hand corner. Let's look at the top right-hand corner. When you log in, again, at dashboard, you should see your name. And when you click on your name, you're going to have three components here. You're going to have a phone number. You're going to have your EXP email address. And then you're going to have your website. So to Yvette's point, here's the way that you can test whether your website and your kvCore account are pulling in your primary MLS correctly. I'm going to click on my website here, and it's going to open up a new window. This is going to take me to my personal site. Now, I will just mention, as an aside, I also have a team platform with kvCore. So every once in a while, the things that I show you are going to look a little bit different because I have a team platform as opposed to an individual agent platform. But right now, you're looking at my individual agent account and my website. What I would suggest that you do as you get started with activation and profile, go all the way down to the bottom of your homepage and look for this disclaimer section. Make sure that this disclaimer reflects your primary MLS. First time I logged in, I was trying to figure out why certain functionality wasn't working and why I couldn't search properties in Burlington and Camden counties, which is where I'm located. And it was because I was assigned to Garden State MLS. Okay. So once they figure that out and get it resolved, this is where you can go back and know that it's been corrected. So the way that I'd resolve your issue, Yvette, is I'd go right into that support chat, start the request there, and let them know that it's pulling in, it's feeding in from the wrong MLS and to get it corrected. Again, that should be, from kvCore staff standpoint, a pretty easy thing to do. Okay, so oh, sure. Let's continue on the dashboard, just getting a sense of everything that we're looking at. On the left-hand side, you're going to have a menu to work from. And this menu will take you to all of these different components and functionalities that we've said this program is capable of. Playbooks, we'll talk a little bit about playbooks in the coming week, but think of it as a template for some of the more common activities, sort of a step-by-step of the more common activities that you might expect kvCore to work on. Smart CRM, that's where we're going to cover all things client database, how to import your clients, how to build your database, and then how to manage it, all from Smart CRM. Listings, from listings, you'll have the ability to not just see your own listings, but you can also take a look at listings EXP-wide. So if you're in New Jersey, any EXP listing will appear here. Marketing, this is where you would expect to find campaigns. Campaigns are going to be series of events, a combination of email, text message, phone call, and task assignments for you as the agent, that when you put some of those together, maybe a couple of emails, a couple of text messages, and you put them together in a pattern over a period of time, that's what kvCore calls a campaign. And Smart Campaign is just what it would imply. It's smart enough to take care of itself. You set it, don't forget it, but you set it, and then you have the ability to go in and monitor the engagement that you're getting, and then leverage it to insert sort of that personal nurturing around what the client is responding to and what the client needs. For Present is the other thing in the marketing section, which is, again, that CMA builder that I look forward to sharing with you when we get to that particular week. Lead Engine, this is where we'll dive into squeeze pages, landing pages. Property Boost is another great feature that you get within Lead Engine. And this is also the place where you would go if you had a large file, like a CSV file of clients that you wanted to upload, rather than do it one by one. This would be where you would go in Lead Engine. Excuse me. kvCore also has the ability to manage your transactions. I personally do not leverage this platform for transaction management, because my team, we leverage Dotloop. And Dotloop gives us the ability to create documents, send them for electronic signature, and then manage all the other components of the transaction all in that one place. But you do have the ability to use transaction management in kvCore. Web and IDX is going to be everything related to your website. This is where we'll go and spend time next week when we talk about how to add those personal touches. Marketplace is where you would go when you want to add things on. So if you're an EXP agent, you are getting kvCore as part of your $85 tech and education fee, which would normally, if you were not part of this brokerage, would cost you anywhere from $300 to $400, possibly even more a month. So you're getting a good value right off the bat. But there are things that you can layer on, and we'll talk about a couple of those things as we move through. And you would do that in the marketplace, just to add sort of additional layers of robustness to your particular account. Business analytics, exactly what you would expect. You can analyze the results. And then there's a place that you can go for support and training. There are live training sessions. There are recorded training sessions. You have the ability to search for articles that might be of support to you. So it's a good place to begin if you think you have a pretty general question that you just need a quick answer to. But if you're struggling with something that you can't quickly find an article or a video to help you answer, I always recommend going back to that chat feature that we just talked about. Okay, so those are the options on the left-hand side. On the dashboard itself, you'll notice at the top, if there are any announcements, those would be coming from Inside Real Estate. They would be posted at the top. There are also going to be some action items for you, and how robust this section of kvCore is when you log in is going to depend on how much you're leveraging campaigns, tasks, and how much you're working your database. You have the ability, anytime that you create a campaign or put a client on a campaign, set notes and tasks for yourself to call this client. Maybe there's a client that wants to hear from you every Thursday with open houses for the weekend. Or maybe you had a conversation with somebody and put them on property alerts or expanded their property alerts to include some additional towns or geographic areas. So maybe you want to make yourself a note for a week from now to go in and check that client, see if they're reviewing the property alerts. And if you do see that they're actively opening them, that prompts you to say, okay, now's a good time for me to make a call or send a text message to that client to continue to elevate our engagement. Okay, and we'll go into all of that as we dig deeper. But here from the dashboard, you'll sort of have your to-do list of calls you need to make, tasks you have to address. You can look at your calendar and so forth. Here's one of the places where my dashboard might look just slightly different because of the fact that I do have a team site. So I can see feed and activity for all team members on my team. Excuse me. But what you can see here is for any of your clients that are actively searching properties through your website, you'll be able to see either the new lead come in or that lead's activity, what they've searched for specifically via your site. Okay, that's what's all included on the dashboard. Then if we go back up to this right-hand corner again, I just want to spend a little bit of time on everything in this drop-down, and then we're going to zone in on my profile and how today you'll be able to work on getting your profile set up in kvCore. So we saw when I clicked on the world, it took me to my website. So you can always do that if you want to see what your website looks like. And as we work next week on some of those personalizing items, I encourage you to do that. Have a separate tab open with your website, because you can literally go here and make the change, then toggle over to here on your website and just simply refresh it and see the result of that change. So if I were changing my background image or some of the verbiage under my name, if I were maybe pulling in some of my testimonials or updating my biography on my page, like these different components, I could simply save it and then refresh here and immediately see the result, whether I like it, don't like it, want to revert back, and so forth. Okay. You also, if you're ever uncertain, can see your eXp Realty email address if you are indeed with eXp. If you are not, then you'll see whatever email address is associated with your account here. And then the other thing that I want to talk to you about is this phone number. Okay, I'm going to go down to this phone drop down option from this menu so that you can see this in a little bit more detail. When you first activate your kvCore account, if you are with eXp Realty, you will automatically be assigned a phone number. I think it's this one here, the 919 number. And then there's also a New Jersey number, 973. What happens with kvCore is that there is what's called a smart number system. The smart number system will identify new leads and then will route the new leads based on rules that are set up under that number. If you are working from the broad eXp smart number, what that smart number will do, that's owned by the brokerage. Okay, so what that number will do is if any lead comes in, it will automatically identify what state that lead is coming in from, and then it will assign it to an agent on a round robin basis. So if we have 2,500 agents in New Jersey right now and 1,000 agents are active in kvCore, then that lead, that New Jersey lead, would work its way through those 1,000 agents on a round robin basis. Okay, that's from EXP nationally. Then there's a smart number that manages EXP at the New Jersey level. That's going to work the same way, round robin. Okay, but that doesn't differentiate you from all of the other agents in the New Jersey network or in EXP's network. What I encourage you to consider is having your own individual smart number, which gives you the ability when a new lead comes in, that lead is going to be assigned to you and only you through your own smart number. Now, technically, conceivably, if a lead comes in on one of those other round robin sources, once it's assigned to you, it should only be yours. But you don't have any control over that smart number to have 100% confidence in that process. If you had your own smart number, then you could have full confidence that any lead that comes in that is assigned through that smart number, and then where you're communicating back with that lead through that smart number, like through text communication, is all belonging to you and your kvCore account. Smart number is a $27 a month investment with kvCore. It's an add-on, and it's something that you would get by going to the marketplace. So remember, on the left-hand side, we saw the marketplace. So you're just going to click there and you're going to scroll down, and you'll see one of the tiles on that landing page has to do with smart number. You can just click on learn more. You'll see it's right there, $27. It's a minimum 3-month commitment. So if you decided that it wasn't worth your time, you could always cancel it after 90 days. But you do have the ability to see a video that gives you a little bit more information about what smart number, having your own personal number, will do. And then you can go ahead and click this button to add your own smart number to your account. I think it's a really smart investment. The other thing that it does is, remember, we were just looking at that list. Let me go back to it. So the two numbers that I showed you, the EXP Realty number was a 919 area code, and the New Jersey number was a 973 area code. So when I added my smart numbers, I did one initially one for myself, and then I updated it to reflect one for my team. When I moved over to a team platform, I chose 856 because I'm in the South Jersey market. Okay, so that's why you see 856. Then I do happen to have 2 team members who also chose to purchase their own smart number. So you happen to be able to see them on my team account. That wouldn't be the case if you have an individual account. But the reason they purchased their own is because they function out of Ocean County and wanted 973 or 908 numbers that were specific to the geography where they serve. They wanted, if a client was receiving texts from them, they wanted to feel like they had that local presence via a recognizable area code. Did you have a question, Rochelle?
Yes, thanks. So with the smart number, so I've been with EXP, I guess, for about a year now. And my old brokerage also had kvCore, which I did nothing with because I was intimidated. And now here I am again. The $27, so does your own smart number stay with you forever, wherever you are with that, whatever brokerage, or is it just like through the company? I'm assuming it'd probably just be through the company, right?
That's a really good question. I'm going to say it's not something that I've ever challenged before, but I'm going to say it would be just through the company, because if you were to leave EXP, you would lose your EXP email address, and by default, you would lose this account. If you had gone out on your own as a truly independent individual, just as Rochelle, contracting with Inside Real Estate for a kvCore account, then that would be your number, regardless of the brokerage. But given that your introduction to this account was because of your brokerage, I'm going to say that anything that you tie to that account would be lost if you left
Right.
EXP.
Just like the last brokerage, right? So then my other question was with the phone number. So we can ask kvCore for like a specific area code then.
So you can request an area code, yes, but unlike some platforms where you can sometimes get down to the specific number, like you can choose an actual number, you can put additional requests in there, but really the only thing that they can kind of promise you is that you'll get something in your area code. They typically can't get more advanced than that in what they assign to you. But still, the fact that you could have a local number that sort of matches what you see in your marketplace for $27 a month, and again, only have it be yours.
Right. So right now, if I go into mine again, because it's set up, but I never really did anything with it. It probably has the EXP number, like the default that you're talking about then, right?
So if you go up here and you've never done anything with a smart number, if you go up where your name is in the top right-hand corner and click on phone,
Okay.
you're probably going to see either one or two entries, the EXP Realty entry. And then if you're active in New Jersey primarily, then you're going to see the New Jersey number there as well.
Thank you.
Sure. And then you'll know that your number is activated in two ways. Number one, it will be added to this list. And number two, when you go up to the top and you take a look at these first three numbers, you want to make sure that your local number, your local smart number, is now the number that you see at the top of the screen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this one? Okay, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little time just going through how you get your profile set up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead from the top right-hand corner where I saw my name, clicked on my profile, and now it's going to take me to the page where I can actually edit some components of my background. First thing you want to do is click on the actual edit button to be able to open these fields and gain access to it. Drop an image in there, and I definitely encourage you to have an image and also to continually save and then refresh your website so you can take a look at how that image translates to your website. Okay, if you pick something that's not close up, for example, with your face, then if you're going to use the standard formatting website, you can imagine if this were a picture of me standing by a window, how small I would look to a visitor coming to my website. Okay, so anytime that you make a change here, if you hit save and then toggle over to your website, hit refresh, you're going to be able to see what it looks like. So notice this tagline where I've identified myself as a team leader and my team name. You'll see that that comes through on the website right below my name. So you'll want to give some thought to what you would want your sort of tagline or title to be. You want to make sure that you enter your MLS ID. You want to pull that from your MLS, from your primary MLS, and make sure that it's entered here. This is important for feeds, for appropriate feeds, and for your kvCore account to identify your specific listings as opposed to it being an EXP listing. You want to enter your NERDS number, and then you should already have your vendor ID entered. That should be there, and that should be your agent ID with your brokerage, with EXP. If you're an EXP agent, that would be your EXP agent ID number that you can verify through Enterprise. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. You can always go in and change your image at any time. Just drag it over, make sure that you save afterwards, save the changes. And again, those changes would flow through to your website immediately. Okay. Now let's take a look. We're going to address contact information and social media. First, with contact information, you have the ability to enter 3 phone numbers in your profile. I've researched this multiple times over the course of the last 18 months, and so far, the advice I've received has not changed. We only are recommended to enter 1 phone number here out of these 3. And here's the reason why. If I toggle over to my website and I click on the search button, So imagine that I'm a visitor, right? I'm sort of the searching public that wants to perform a real estate search. If I click on that search button and it opens up the map and takes me to the search feature, this is the phone number. This is where it's going to appear. If you add multiple numbers here, then sometimes either no number will appear, or despite the fact that you might select only one to show up as your primary, it still will default to one of the others. And as much as it's important to the public that we have to be able to provide our brokerage phone number, right, on all of our correspondence, if we're providing our cell phone number, we don't want to lose the opportunity to connect with somebody because the brokerage number is what appeared here and not my number. Okay, so on your website, I recommend that you just identify one number, and 99 times out of 100, the agent's going to prefer that it be their cell number. And then just make sure that you check off the box so that it appears on your website. Your email address, this should already be entered. It's going to be your eXp Realty email. And then you can go ahead and enter the related email where the alias is associated with. So whatever email address is ultimately receiving your messages when somebody emails your eXp Realty address. Typically, a lot of people have a Gmail address. I happen to have a domain, so I'm using an address associated with my Go Connection NJ domain address. You can, but do not have to enter the from name. I'm going to show you sort of a better place, I think, to enter the from name when we get to your email signature. Your website should already be entered here. This will be the full URL with the HTTPS at the start. So if you ever needed to copy and paste that and provide it to someone, you could always pull it from here. If you have a personal domain and wanted to be able to reflect that somewhere in your profile, you can do it here. You also have the ability, and I'll mention this at the end a little further too in the marketplace, you do have the ability to take a personal domain and point it to your eXp website, okay? And there are multiple options. Again, maybe a little bit beyond, a little more advanced than what we're going to cover today, but I just at least will mention at the end that those are options available to you and where you would go to pursue them. I want to talk about a lender, and I'm going to give you a little bit more detail on that in a second, but this is a place where if in your profile you choose to identify a lender partner, certain features of your website will open up that otherwise would not be available. Specifically, there's this finance button, okay? And I'll click on that in a second. The way I happen to have my website built, if you scroll down, you're going to see a get pre-approved section. So these areas only become functional if in your profile you identified a lender. Okay, so let's see what happens when if I click on finance. So what it will do is, depending on the lender that I've chosen, it will take me to that lender's biography page. I'll learn about the lender. And then if the lender has properly set up their profile, I'll even be able to offer my clients a link to start the application process, okay? Or to ask a question of my mortgage partner. So some important things to mention while we're parked on this subject. Don't just choose somebody at random. Choose somebody that you've worked with before and that you have a valued relationship with. Remember that that should never be the only person that you ever suggest to a client. You can only identify one lender currently on your website, but you don't want that to be the only lender that you offer in your overall conversation with your clients. Make sure they know they have options. And make sure that you speak with the lender in advance before you turn this functionality on. There is a place within kvCore where you can choose from pre-established or sort of pre-registered lenders. Or if your lender isn't there, I'm going to show you now how you can go about requesting that your lender partner be added. Okay, so I'm going to go up again to the top right-hand corner where you see your name.
Do they have to pay? Do they have to pay something?
No, which is, so when you have that conversation, I'm going to explain to you if you have to register an agent. I'm going to show you what the process is. And that's part of what's great is that all they have to do once they are approved, they just have to go in and create their own profile page, build out their biography, make sure that they add the link for their mortgage application and so forth with whatever mortgage lender they're associated with. And then you can even take it as far as setting them up to automatically receive the leads when you receive the leads. So you can put that all on autopilot. But again, that's why it's so important that you have the conversation up front about what the expectation is. There's no cost to the loan officer. So it can only help give them additional visibility and opportunity for leads. So I don't know why an LO wouldn't want to take you up on that. But at the same time, you're giving them free visibility. So make sure that you're clear on what the expectation is, that you want them to, be able to immediately jump on these leads with you in conjunction with you, help identify where somebody is in their pre-approval process and get that piece of the puzzle addressed quickly. So we know how important, especially right now, it is for a buyer's ducks to be in a row before they even start, putting offers into properties. But so if I knew who I wanted my lending partner to be, I could go up to my name in the top right-hand corner, find lenders, and then from there, give it maybe, 10 or 15 seconds, a list will populate. That list, I know there is geography associated with it, but I don't know how granular it is. I think this is going to be any of the loan officers in New Jersey, but it might not even be that broad. It might be identified as Southern New Jersey or Northern New Jersey. But so for wherever you are, you can take a look through this list and see if your lender is there. If you don't have a lending partner, but maybe have an interest in talking with somebody who's already approved, you can click on any of these people and learn about them, learn about their bio. I personally would not recommend that be the way that you choose someone, just because I think it's just such an intimate component of the process that you want to have some sort of personal validation of a loan officer. If it's not your own experience, then at least another agent's experience with an LO.
I just have a quick question. I want to make sure I understood what you said. So you're saying if you have a lender that you want to add to that lender space, they have to be pre-approved first through EXP?
Yeah, so I'm going to show you there's a form, and it's not, they don't have to fill out a test. There's no, to my knowledge, there's no like any kind of background check, or I think they just validate that they have a valid license with the Department of Banking and Insurance, but there's a form. And I'm going to go ahead, I can drop this form into the chat. Just give me a second to get there. So if you want to go ahead and click on this link and save this form to your favorites, there's no limit on how many lenders you can add. So if you might have a partner today and then want to change who that partner is 6 months from now, you can simply go back to this form. And what you'll do is you'll just enter your information as the agent and then give the information on your lending partner. Okay. Usually within 1 to 2 business days, the lender will get the email saying that their profile has been created with kvCore. They just have to, at that point, just like you had to activate your account, set up your password, they have to do the same thing. And then they're going to go through, add their photo, add their mortgage application link or their, mortgage website links, and make sure that they have a valid email address, all of their licensure credentials entered so that they properly translate to this page on your website. Okay. Once they do that, then they will appear in this list. And then you can go back. So you have to wait for their account to be activated. Then you can go back, find them in this list, and simply click on them and identify them as your lending partner. Or you can go back. The other way that you can do it is from your profile. If I just click on edit so that I open up those fields in my profile, I can simply go down to the lender section, start typing in, I would recommend last name, start typing in their last name, and it should appear. And then you simply click on it. Make sure that you, this could be a feature that relates to the fact that I have a team site. But you do, if there is a box here, you want to make sure that it's checked so that it translates over to your website. Then just go up and hit save. And then as soon as you hit save, if you go back to your website, you'll see those finance functions open up on your website. Okay, so if you went there now and you didn't have a lending partner, I don't even think you would see finance from this list at the top of your page. It wouldn't even appear. It would just go right from search, sell to more. Okay. So any other questions on lender or any other components here? Let me just mention these last couple of fields with designations and licenses. You can certainly enter that information here if you have any certifications or designations, if you're licensed in multiple states. But if you enter it here, it doesn't go anywhere. There isn't actually a place on your website where this information would appear. So it's up to you, whether you want to take the time to update that component of your profile or not. The other area is social media on the right-hand side here in your profile. If you are working through your kvCore profile, this could be a really good time for you to reevaluate where you are with your professional social media. If you are only using your personal accounts, say your personal Facebook or personal Instagram pages, for example, this might be a great time for you to say, you know what, I'm going to create the Facebook business page. I'm going to create the professional Instagram account and set it up so that my real estate postings feed into those things on a regular basis. That's sort of outside of our scope of what we're talking about. We're just trying to talk about how to build this functionality in the kvCore. But I just like to mention that because a lot of people use only their own personal accounts, which is fine too. But again, this could be a good time to evaluate how you're presenting yourself on social media. For any platforms that you're currently using, so if you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, the only one that's going to be a little bit different is YouTube. But let me show you an example with Facebook. So I'm on my Facebook business page. All I need to do from the page is go up to the top and simply copy what's up in the search bar. So I can either hit, I can right click and copy, or I can hit Control and C, whichever is easier. And then I come right back over to my kvCore account and I'm going to paste it right into this Facebook field. Once I paste it, the HTTPS and all that functionality will automatically appear here in this field. Okay. It'll work that way for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can also do Pinterest and Instagram, all the same way. Just go to that page, simply copy what's up at the top, paste it into that field, be sure that you save. The only difference with that is YouTube. YouTube, you're not going to copy from the top, from the search bar up at the top. With YouTube, you want to actually go into your channel details and copy your channel name from within your profile. There's usually a little a copy and paste button right within YouTube where you would click the copy and then come over to your kvCore profile, right click and paste it. So you'll see it looks a little bit different. It doesn't look like a URL, and that's why. Okay. When you update these components in your profile and you save it, what it's going to do is it's going to add these little icons to the top right-hand corner of your website so that if anybody wanted to reach you through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they could do it right from here. The reason that I mentioned before reevaluating your social profile is because when we talk about your biography, your photo, the internet gives people today a remarkable opportunity to sort of spy on you and learn about you without you even knowing it. So before you even have that first phone call with somebody, they may have already done a little bit of sleuthing on their end, and they may think they know something about your personality or your background based on what they see on social media. So you just want to kind of think about that context. And again, consider whether you want these to be pointing to your, personal social media accounts or your professional social media accounts and how they best represent you to be able to attract clients. Okay. So
I have a
that's
quick question, Deanna.
sure, of course, Karen.
Hi, yeah. So did you say that whatever listings that are posted in kvCore would automatically feed into any of the social media sites, or
It won't automatically
was I
feed
dreaming?
into the social media sites, but it will feed into your kvCore website. So let me show you what I mean by that. If you're logged into kvCore, on the left-hand side, you can see listings. Listings is going to give you the ability, you can either look at your listings specifically, or if you look at company listings, you can see any EXP listing in whatever state you're licensed in. So right now I'm looking at EXP listings in New Jersey. What can also happen is on my website, and we'll talk about this next week, how you can personalize it. But my website, I happen to have this one section, these are called carousels, specifically because they do work like a rotating carousel where you can sort of page through as if you were working your way on a merry-go-round. But these carousels, I chose to have just listed, just reduced, and in some cases, you can put just sold, or you can put my listings. There are a number of things that you can do, personalize. This is where the information can pull in from the brokerage in total, not just from you, depending on which components you pull into your website. It will
don't
not
think I'll-
automatically feed to social media though.
Can you show us how to choose which listings people see when they go to your website?
Yes, so that'll actually, I'll show you briefly now, but I'm going to go into detail with it next time too, when we really talk about the website. But where you can go is under Web and IDX. You want to go under Website Manager. This is where you're going to, you can either address certain components, what people see or don't see. You can change the colors, the background images of your site, and sort of build out something that's reflective of your profile. And just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here, I'm going to show you a couple of examples from people on my team where we work together to do a little bit of, so you saw my website a couple of times. I'll just go back to the top. I'm kind of like a warm and fuzzy, wrap up in a warm blanket kind of person. So that's what I wanted my website to be a reflection of. Okay, that's sort of my feel, my color scheme, different taglines that I added. Another agent on my team, Gail, she goes with black and white business cards, black and white signs. She likes the black and the white logos. So we have a different look for her. A lot of the same content, but just a different look and feel. Okay, so you can go that route. Janet, kind of similar. She liked the black and white feel also, but we changed things up a little bit in the way that these tiles are structured. Okay, so here with the carousels, if you take a look at Janet's, Janet has chosen to do just listed and open houses and our listings. When you see the word our listings, that's going to be your clue that that's going to be brokerage wide. Okay, so you're going to see all of EXP, New Jersey. So the place where you can go once you're in website and IDX, you just go under manage my website's settings. And when you click on that, that's where you're going to see it's going to be a very long list of things, beginning with the color scheme and tile presentation. And if you keep working your way down, you'll be able to see, I'm going to try and get there without making everybody dizzy. You have the ability to hide or pull in testimonials. You have the ability to identify if you didn't like the word search or you didn't like the word sell or finance that we saw at the top of our website. You have the ability to customize the actual name of those links. But then here is where you're going to have the ability to change your carousels. You want to find this section that says listing carousels. If you like the idea of advertising or drawing attention to open houses, then maybe one of the ones that you want to choose in these three is open house. And it's simply going to be a toggle, and you're going to identify from the drop down which one you want to use. Okay, but we'll spend even more time next week going over how to maneuver all of these different components so that you can change some of the look and feel of your website too.
Should I talk about how I don't see all my listings on the website right now? Or next?
If you don't see all of your listings, the first place I would say you want to check is you want to make sure if you scroll to the bottom of your website and look for that MLS. Did you hear that in the beginning?
No, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay, no worries.
I
So
have
you want to,
I do, but I'm with 4.
so, okay, so that's going to add a whole nother, that'll be one of the things that I'll cover at the end. First thing you want to be sure of is that your primary MLS, whatever your main MLS, is correctly reflected at the bottom of your website. That's number one. Number two, you want to make sure, let me take you back up to the top. I'm going to go to my name. I'm going to go to my profile. You want to make sure that your agent ID for that MLS is also added here in your profile. That's the
So I
first
can
two
have
things.
multiple.
You can have multiple, and I'll show you as soon as we finish on this screen. I'm going to show you how to pursue adding multiple MLSs to your account. I think you can have 3, up to 3. It's called commingling. And I'm going to give you a resource I'll drop in the chat that's going to be a help to you.
Okay.
Okay, so in terms of profile, we talked about social media. Next component is your bio. If you're in the edit mode of your profile, here is where you are going to edit and add your biography. I sometimes like to actually do a lot of the typing for these components, for the blog posts, for the newsletters. I like to do it outside of kvCore and then just copy and paste it in. I find it to be a little bit easier to edit it in like Word or Google Forms or, like Google Docs or something like that. But what's important here is, again, just remember that if somebody is drawn to your website, either through a Google ad or because they searched your name or whatever the case may be, you've got maybe 60 seconds of their time to give them a picture of who you are. So don't just, in my opinion, don't just have your biography reflect who you are professionally. There could be opportunity for you to mention something either in your prior professional experience or maybe your personal experience that can help someone feel like they could have a connection to you. Maybe it's where you live. Maybe it's the sports that your children play. Maybe it's the fact that you have military in your background, or that you are a yoga buff. Whatever the case may be, you don't have to go into extreme detail, but understand that you have a few sentences here to very succinctly, but try to be thorough in the way that you describe yourself, okay, and present yourself to the real estate buying and selling public. Okay, then the other thing is your signature. You are required to know what your individual state or brokerage expects when it comes to your email signature. I know that EXP requires certain disclosures, and that's why you see these notices included in my email signature for kvCore. I also, because I want to be able to advertise my cell, know that I, for compliance purposes, have to be able to include the office number as well on all my communications. So that's why I have both of those numbers. The other thing that I did is I pulled in my logo, which you can do as long as it's approved, with brand requirements from your brokerage. And then I also pulled a link to my website into my email signature. And this is actually a pretty easy thing to do. Just a lot of people don't know how to do it. The way that you'll do it from this signature box is you want to find this little chain icon here at the top. You're going to click on the chain and it's going to open up a new box. I can just toggle over to my website, copy it, and then I'm going to hop back over to that box and I'm going to paste it in just like this. But I don't want that to appear in my email signature. I want something nice and professional, short and sweet to appear. So in this text to display box, I'm simply going to change it to something else. So let's say, come visit my site. And then I even have the ability, if somebody clicks on the link in my signature, I have the ability to set up with that link, whether I want that link to open in the existing window that the visitor is in, or open up a new window. So a lot of times people like get to open up in a new window. Okay, so let's just say I choose new window and then I hit save. Now look what happens. It's going to post that link wherever my cursor was in my email signature, and it's using the verbiage that I assigned right to it. So instead of it being that URL that might have looked clunky or maybe even a little bit sloppy, now I can give it a nice, prettily packaged name, if that makes sense. But since I already have the link here, and since I don't want it at the end of my phone number, I can simply go back and delete it or backspace off of it to get rid of it. No big deal. You can add multiple links to multiple sites. So if you are working with multiple domains because you want to keep your MLSs separate to separate domains, you can always go in and add multiple links that way, just the same process that I just followed.
I have a question about, lately I've been seeing some other agents who are adding in like the Facebook or the LinkedIn, like those little icons into their signature. Do you have any clue how to do that?
Add the icon. That's a really good question. Certainly
The newer
I know,
agents are doing it and it's making me feel old.
well, thanks, Yvette, because you just passed it on to me. Well, I can certainly tell you, like, to at least get started, you can you could copy and paste your Facebook page and create a link the way that we just did. But I think to actually have the icon appear, I think it has to be something that started on the Facebook side. I'm going to find out and make sure that I have an answer for that next time.
Yeah, because I
That's a
had
really
an
good
agent
question.
who didn't even put like all her other stuff. She just put like, her name, her cell phone, and boop, 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 all these little links, to show like how web savvy she was. And I immediately felt like, and actually like I was 20 years older than I am. So I didn't know how to do that.
Well, you know what? A week from now, we're all going to know how to do that. So I'm going to find that out, and then we can circle back and talk about how to add that functionality. So you know how to add it to your website this way. Now we just want to make sure that we can incorporate those with and actually have them operate the way they're supposed to within our email signature. So we can do that here. And then I'm thinking that whatever we figure out here for kvCore, you could translate that to your own email account too, so that you can probably follow the same process to do it in your Gmail or whatever as well. So I will get an answer on that. Thank you for that question. Okay, so make sure as you continue to go through each of these components that you don't forget at the end to go up and save, or at least make sure that you're saving often, because if you forget that step, everything that you've added in all these sections will have been forgotten. Okay. There is a place when you set up your signature, you can toggle on to make sure that your signature is on all outgoing email. I included. I think that that's an important component. I want all of my contact information on all of my outgoing messages, so I've got it toggled on. Then these remaining components, you can add that information about your background and credentials, but it doesn't go anywhere. So that's why you see those blank on my particular profile. Okay. So those are really all the components of the profile. The one other thing that I like to mention, these two buttons here, settings, and also,
I'm sorry,
yep.
Before you jump there. So like
Yep.
those sections are there, even though they're blank, they don't go to your website. So who is it being used by other EXP agents who are searching for real estate agents who have specific designations, maybe like for referral purposes?
I have yet to find where this information goes. I don't know if it's somehow being used by kvCore for like tracking or demographic purposes. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I have not gotten any affirmative information to say it's being used anywhere.
All right, because we have like, I think on Zillow, like if you have this stuff in, like you can add pages, like to your site, and, you can add as many pages as you want. You can even, do your own stuff, like additional things. So.
Yep. And
I was
that's
just
what
curious.
like here on mine. So I'm
Okay.
team leader, and I do not spend a whole lot of time in production. That's me. So the production and my life outside of real estate is a little bit, I still have kids at home, so I know what my limitations are. So my geography is pretty tight in terms of what I want to advertise and focus on, and what I could do with, serving buyers and sellers in my local area. So what I decided to do is really concentrate on just one county and towns in one county. And I'll show you how to do this next week, how to build out those exact pages where, depending on how you position yourself, how you market your brand, if you will, how you can build out that same type of functionality in your site as well. But in terms of this section here on the profile, I haven't found where it means anything to anybody. So,
Okay.
unfortunately.
No, that saves me time because I don't want to, put all this stuff in and then have like nothing. It's waste.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so these last two things I just want to show you on the profile page. Settings, really briefly, this is a place where you can go to identify some background information when you're setting up, like if you're going to set up calls or task components, which I do encourage that you do, so long as you follow the call list or the task list that kvCore sends to you every day. But you can tell kvCore like how many calls you want to receive, when you want to receive that email. Do you want to open up your inbox in the morning and see the to-do list from kvCore every day? Or do you prefer to receive that at 6 o'clock at night when maybe you're going to sit and make calls? Whatever the case may be, it's your own personal preference. But this is a place where you can set those little nuances. You also have the ability to turn on holidays. So if you don't want kvCore emailing you on Christmas morning that you have to make phone calls, make sure that you toggle that here in this section. You do also have the ability, and this is something that I see used more frequently on teams, to privatize your leads or to turn your leads on and off. So if you're on vacation and you're on a team, then it makes sense for you to turn your leads off. But if you've got an individual agent account, I rarely see that happen. Unless maybe, you're on your honeymoon or something and you absolutely positively no lead should come between you and your honeymoon. So then maybe you want to toggle it to being on vacation. If you are on a team and your site feeds into your team site, then I do encourage that you might want to consider, if your team leader is in agreement, to make your contacts private so that any contact that is yours and owned by you and brought in by you remains private to you. So if the team leader were to log in, they could see that you have leads. They could see if you have 1,000 leads, they could see that you have 1,000 leads. They just wouldn't be able to see the name or detail information about each of those leads. That's what making them private does. Okay. So that's just a couple things in this particular settings bar. Then the other thing, you'll hear me say this a lot if you attend my trainings. I love to know what the client experience looks like. So if I'm setting up a property alert for the first time, or if I've never done like a market report before, I want to know what that looks like on the receiving end before I start sending it to a client, because I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about when I get questions on it. Okay. So one of the things I think is really good here is that you can send a test email, just so that you can see we've just set up our email signature. So let's make sure that you like how that signature comes through on an email. So when this box comes up for your test, you can simply, from the dropdown, just pick any random email template that you want from the list. And once I choose one, I just chose the first one in the list. It's going to populate with a pre-templated message associated with that post-call email template. So this is kvCore created, not Deanna created. Okay. It's designed to have certain functionality in it so that it's going to pull name and agent information from your database. That's why you see these brackets. The other thing that you'll notice is that it's going to end with my first name and my last name. You want to be cognizant of this because remember, in my profile, I said that I wanted my email signature to appear on all email messages. So I'm going to get rid of this here because I don't want it to appear in duplicate with my signature as well, if that makes sense. Then I can just, in the subject, let's just put test email. Okay. And then you go ahead and hit send. When you hit send, you'll get this little box in the bottom left-hand corner, just validating that the email was sent. And then I'm just going to show you, I did one earlier, just so I could, for sake of time, be able to, and it happens pretty quickly, usually within a few seconds. If you don't see it in your inbox within a few seconds, make sure that you're checking your spam or junk. one of the things that we'll cover later when we talk about campaigns and newsletters and sending out communication is we're going to talk about how you can try to avoid getting into someone's spam. Okay, there are certain strategies that you can use to try and help your email and your message get to a person's actual inbox. But this is where I wanted to show you why you want to remove that automatic insertion of my name, because this name down here was already part of my email signature. So I wanted to remove it. I didn't remove it when I did my first test, which is why you still see it here. So you just want to give some thought to that. And again, we'll talk more about that, down the road when we get to that point. But the first of many times where I say, just know what it's going to look like from the client end so that you can feel confident and comfortable in what your clients are receiving. And then when you get questions or comments on it, you know how to address those. Okay. So we talked about the lender form, where you would go to get a lender. The one other thing I just want to circle back on, which is something, again, it would be, in some cases, it would be an add-on with a cost involved. In some cases, it may not. But this is so new in the grand scheme of things. It's like less than 6 months old. The ability to pull multiple MLSs into your one kvCore account and into your one domain. I'm going to copy this entire presentation because it's going to explain a little bit more. This is probably a little bit more advanced, like I said, than what we're covering, but it's going to help guide you on what you should think about when you decide whether you want to have 2 separate websites with each MLS, one MLS associated with one website, or if you want all the MLSs feeding into one. This is going to help answer those questions for you, number one. And then number two, it's going to give you guidance on where you have to go, who you should talk to get those, to get that support from kvCore, because kvCore is going to have to set that up for you. That's not something that you can just go in and do yourself. Okay. Now, I did say that there was a question. If you, just to reiterate again, if you are having trouble and you know that you are not getting your primary MLS feeding into your website properly, if like, I think I saw somebody say they had Bright and they're not even on Bright. That means that you've been assigned the wrong MLS when your kvCore account was set up. That's something that you do want to address sooner rather than later, especially because you having the correct MLS will be so critical to some of the other components that we tackle in the coming weeks. So to fix that, you should simply go into your kvCore dashboard, find that support button in the bottom right-hand corner, and send a support request. And you can simply hit send a message, start the conversation, and let them know that your primary MLS is whatever it is, Central Jersey, Garden State, that it's currently reflecting on your site as Bright. That's wrong. Please fix it. And just to give you an idea, like I was having trouble with my website, and I knew it was associated with the fact that I moved from an individual site to a team site earlier this year. I sent a message at 6 o'clock this morning. I told you, you don't have to babysit it, which is great. By the time I rolled into the office and sat down at my desk, it had been fixed. And I had an email response, and I could also see that response here in the chat when I log back into kvCore. So it really is a good place to go when you're having a technical issue. Okay. So the add-on components, whether you want to go with a smart number, which I do strongly recommend, I think for $27 a month, having a number that's yours and only yours is a very good investment. The idea of an add-on, whether you want to do that through having multiple domains, multiple websites, or one, there are certain add-ons that you may have to pay for through the marketplace, but use that link that I gave you to help guide you in what questions to ask, or maybe what questions to ask yourself with kvCore. And then the other thing that I'll just mention as a marketplace item, not something that we're going to go into a lot of detail today, but you might want to think about, do you have a domain that you're paying for? Or do you have a personal site that you want to be able to feed into your EXP site? There are multiple ways that you can go about that. And you can do that in some cases for free. And in some cases, you'll need to leverage the marketplace. So we'll talk about that a little bit more next week too. So what I just want to circle back with, I mentioned, I'm kind of like a homework kind of person. I think I was kindergarten teacher in a past life. So there are things that if you've watched today that you should be able to go back and implement in the next several days, hopefully. Hopefully you're motivated to get started. Make sure you activate your account because it's going to take time. If you haven't done that, it's going to take probably 3 to 5 days for you to get your account activated. So get going on that today. And then work through what we did, setting up your profile. Think about what you're doing on social media and whether this is a good time to revamp that or refresh it or maybe professionalize it a little bit, if that's even a word. We mentioned the SMART number and also mentioned the value of a lending partner. So make sure that you can always change that. It's not a one and done. You can always modify it, but make sure that you're selecting somebody that you have experience or background with. Don't be random in that decision just to be able to turn on functionality in your website. It's too important. It's too important of a component to a real estate transaction to be cavalier about it. Other things to think about. If you have the MLS, multiple MLSs that you want to feed, know that there are paths you can take for that. We talked about, do you have a domain or maybe do you want a domain that is more reflective of your personal brand and not necessarily EXP that you want to use with the public? You can do that. So just sort of give that thought in your mind. And then too, depending on how you're structured or where you're coming from, you may have an interest in a team platform and that might make sense to you. That's another component that you can add on and sort of, what's the game up to? I can't think of the word, but level up, I guess, through the marketplace in kvCore. Okay. So those are some things to think about based on what we talked about today. Looking ahead next week, we're going to tackle website, and that probably will be another full 90 minutes, especially if you're engaged and totally interested in learning certain components and being able to personalize certain things on your site. So allow a little bit more time there. Give some thought in advance to kind of what your theme is, what your focus is. If you're that warm, fuzzy, comfortable blanket like me, if you like the black and white like you saw from some of my other agents, or if there's something completely different. Just give some thought to that in advance because it'll help you when we tackle next week with the website. And then thinking way ahead, just start asking yourself, if I have no database right now, and I am literally building my database from nothing, how do I do that? Where do I start? Do you have a ton of contacts in your phone? Do you have a bunch of pieces of paper that sit around on you're in your home office that you need to compile? Just start thinking about where are the places that you will go to get those contact names, numbers, and email addresses to put them ultimately in one central place. Not asking you to go and gather them yet. Just start to think about where they might be hidden and what all the resources are that you might need to pull together for that. Okay. Are there any questions about certain components that we tackled today, or concerns about what we're covering or not covering? Or
No, I just canceled my Zillow account because the leads that I've been getting for a really long time are just horrible and they don't really translate into much biz. The return on the investment is just not there. And I don't think that after the third, I'm not sure if I'm going to have access to the people that are in my, in my client database there. So I wanted to see if there was a quick way that I could export them into kvCore, or just if there's a video I can watch to figure out how to do. I don't know what I'm going to have access to once my account goes off on the third. I think the testimonials, I don't know if they're going to be there anymore. Past sales, I don't know if that's going to be there anymore. So I'm trying to hustle and get everything out of there before it shuts off, so I don't lose everything for the last 10 years,
Yes. So what you, at a minimum, what you would want to do is, and I'm sure I can find you a video on this, is you would want to download a contact list from Zillow. And the challenge will be is that sometimes you have to, it's got to be 2 separate steps. You're going to have to download first, then do some formatting and scrubbing of whatever format Zillow gives you in order to prepare it for upload into kvCore. So the most urgent part of that is making sure that you get that download in whatever raw form you can get it in, so that we can then work through and I can give you further guidance on how to do that scrubbing how to get it into a format that you can easily upload into kvCore, or you can actually sort of bounce that file over to kvCore and they will upload those contacts to you for free.
Okay.
But the most
That would
important
be
thing is,
helpful.
so the most important thing is you want to make sure that you gather and pull that download. So I'll get you information for that.
Okay.
If you could, Yvette, just stick your email address in the chat. So I can go ahead, and if anybody else, if you want any of the links to what we talked about today, please go ahead and just add your email address in the chat. I'm happy to send those out when we conclude. And then the other thing is I'm just dropping my email address and cell phone number in the chat as well. Oh, great. Thanks, Rachel. I am available by phone and email, so that if you have any questions that you want to address offline and don't want to wait for this forum, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way. Thank you very much, Rachel. All right.
Thank you, Anna.
All right, great. I'll hang on for another minute or two. So for anybody who wants to go ahead and drop their contact information into the chat, I appreciate it. We'll make sure that you get those resources that I was sharing earlier today. And again, I'm glad to have you join us and hope to see you next week. We're going to dive into our websites.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. Have a good rest of the
you.
week. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't know what the hell's going on right now. I don't even know if you can hear that.
I did.
It is. I'm like, how do I get out of here?
Uh,